Hello and welcome to another episode of Toya Talks Wrestling. In today's episode, I'm going to give you my favorite parts and the highlights of what I think of Raw, November 17th, 2025. Anyways, last night on Raw was a very good show. Actually, I really enjoyed this Raw. Probably one of the better Raws of 2025. Which ain't saying much, but still, it's a good Raw. Anyways, I'm going to go ahead and start with some John Cena. So, as you may or may not know, this will be the official last time that John Cena will ever be in Madison Square Garden. That's where they were at. And also his last Raw. No more Raw. Actually have like 2 more appearances. Survivor Series, which I will tell you what he'll be doing on the Survivor Series. And of course, Saturday Night's Main Event in December 13th. Anyway, so John Cena comes out, obviously huge pop, huge applause, everyone's cheering, everyone's saying thank you Cena as he's coming out and everything else, telling his name, all that other stuff. You know, he thanks the audience, you know, Elisa Taylor does her little thing, never seen 17, blah blah blah, all that other stuff. And you know, John Cena is basically saying that how, like, you know, Madison Square Garden is where stars are made and everything else. He wants talking about how he wants to get back and all this other stuff and everything else. So as he's talking, Dominic Mysterio comes out, right? And Dominic Mysterio is basically saying that, oh, you know, you bested me, whatever, you know, stuff like that. And he wanted a rematch for his title back, which makes sense, right? And John Cena's like, oh shoot, we can go right here, right now. I'm ready. You want a title back? Let's go. Like, right, let's get a ref right now. And Dom is like, no, not right now. Come on, not right now. And then he's like, no, we're gonna do it. Last time we did it your way. This time we're gonna do it my way. We're gonna do it in my hometown at Survivor Series in San Diego. So it's official. John Cena will defend the IC title against Dominic Mysterio for at Survivor Series in San Diego. I was like, I was wondering what they were going to do with John Cena. I know he had an appearance, and I know he wasn't just going to show up just to show up. I know he was going to fight, but I didn't know who was going to fight. And the fact that he's fighting Dominic Mysterio, more likely Dominic Mysterio will probably win the title back, but via help by Judgment Day or whatever. I'm not sure, but I'm sure. Or maybe they even put in like fucking, I don't know, maybe the El Americanos might get involved and John Cena might have a little tussle with the Americanos. I don't know. Who knows, right? But I'm not exactly sure, but that's what we know right now. So, and John Cena's like, all right, cool, fine. You want to have a title shot in your hometown? Because I had a title shot in my hometown. Fair, right? We'll do that. But right now, I told these people in New York that I was ready for a fight. And then, you know, you want to make history, kid? Come on, let's go. Hey, we can go one-on-one right now. And as he was saying this and everything else, Dom had this look on his face, and then you see Judgment Days, Finn Balor, JD McDonough come out, and they're coming out and everything else, and they're standing side by side with Dom. And as they're standing side by side with Dominic, is like, you know what, you're not gonna get that last match on your last day at Raw, on your last night on Raw, but what you are gonna get is your ass whooped, a beat down on Raw and everything else like that. So they started jumping on John Cena 3 against 1. The next thing you know, you hear Sheamus music, and Sheamus comes out. Then you hear Sheamus music, and he comes out, and you know, it's still 3 against 2 at this point. And then Daddy Mysterio, Rey Mysterio, comes out, and they started fighting everything else, and they pretty much threw the heels out of the ring. And John Cena's like, if it's a fight that you want, I see there's 3 of you. I've got my 2 partners. We're gonna have a 6-man tag match right now. And they did. They had a good match. This match was fun. I really enjoyed this match. We had 30 beats of the Balor from Sheamus. We had a 15 knuckle shuffle from you know, John Cena and crew and everything else. And there was a moment where like John Cena was taking everybody's finisher He took the moonsault from JD, took the coup de grace from Finn Balor, took a frog splash from Dominic Mysterio, and all three of them pretty much tried to like power pin John Cena, but in that time Sheamus and Rey Mysterio had came out and, you know, stopped the pin and everything else. But yeah, it was great. It was a good fun match. I probably would have enjoyed a match more with someone like one-on-one, but this was cool too, you know, trying to get as many people to fight with John Cena in his last Raw and everything else. I can understand that. Why would they do that as well? But it was a fun match. I had a good time. I thought it was fun. I was like, oh shoot, that is great. You know, even though I think Sheamus is in the tournament, he ain't gonna win the tournament, obviously. So if he ain't gonna win, you might as well have him tag with John Cena. So we get what we get. Anyways, they win. You know, I think John Cena pins, I forget who he pinned, but he pinned someone and they win and they go up the ramp and everything else, and he pretty much says Madison Square Garden Raw, this is all she wrote, and then, you know, says I love you and I'm out, and that was that. And I was like oh it's like I feel sad now. I feel sad. I'm like, it was a great part of the show, but now I just feel sad. Anyways, so that happened and all that stuff. So let's go ahead, since we're talking about John Cena, let's go ahead and talk about the next two qualifying matches that we had. So we had, first was Solo Sikoa versus a mystery opponent. We didn't know who it was. Figured it might have been Joe Henry, which, by the way, I found out that it is official that Joe Henry is officially on WWE. So he's an officially WWE star. So I would assume that maybe it would have been Joe Henry, because like, wow, what a fucking pop he would have gotten, and if he would have beaten Solo, it wouldn't have mattered anyway, because he's part of WWE. But it wasn't Joe Henry. Instead, Solo's mystery opponent was Dolph Ziggler. That's right. I was like, I hear it too. I'm like, oh my god, no they did not. I was freaking out. Like, I don't normally freak out, but I was freaking out. I love me some Dolph Ziggler. I love Dolph Ziggler. I love Nick Nemeth. Oh my goodness gracious, but fucking awesome. And let me tell you something, Dolph Ziggler, when his music hit, I think that he might have gotten a bigger pop than John Cena. Like, I think, not by much, but like a bigger pop for sure. People were freaking out, and like, they were freaking out. They're like, oh my god, I can't believe he's here and everything else like that. And you could tell he was excited, man. Dolph Ziggler was excited. He was all into it and everything else. I was like, oh man, I'm so glad to see him in this ring right now. And at one point where he hit the zigzag, oh my god, the freaking crowd went freaking bananas, man. I was like, yeah. It kind of reminded me when he cashed in on Alberto Del Rio, and he hit the zigzag on Alberto Del Rio to cash in to get the championship. Oh my god, that fucking pop. That was that pop right there. I'm like, oh my goodness gracious, fucking amazing. But it ended up being Solo Sikoa winning the match, because I don't know. I mean, I get why Solo won, because he has to win, right? He has to look strong, especially going into next Friday, where they have a traditional Survivor Series with the MFT versus Sami Zayn, Rey Fenix, Shinsuke Nakamura, and the Motor City Machine Gun. So I can understand why they want to make Solo look strong and stuff like that. But man, I would have loved to see Ziggler move on to at least the second round. Can you imagine like a match with like Ziggler and like Rusev, or Ziggler versus Finn Balor, or Bronson Reed or something like that. Can you imagine that match? That would be fucking awesome. But you know what? Good job. Good to see you and everything else. I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. I wouldn't be mad if we see Dolph Ziggler and Zack Ryder in Royal Rumble next year. I wouldn't be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised at all. They did a great job. Both men were great, and unfortunately none of them have advanced, but it is what it is. So the next match that we had was fucking top notch for me. Was the Gunther versus John Evans match. Man, this was a good match. This was like Gunther is like patting Javon Evans on the head, like, oh, you're such a good boy, blah 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 blah. And Javon Evans just pretty much slapped the shit out of Gunther, and it's Raw to the races, right? And then there was like a one point where like Javon Evans, because like Gunther with his chops, man, and Javon Evans got chopped. Like this was a chop heard around the world. Okay, it was heard around the world. I'm just like, it echoed through the freaking like place, and I'm just like, I felt that. I'm not even in the match. I'm not even in the ring. I felt that. I'm like, homeboy's gonna be crying when he gets home from there. It's like, oh damn, thanks for coming, Javon. Thanks for coming, and everything else. And it was a good match. A lot of people were into it. People were like standing up and everything because they were really into it and all that other stuff. It ended up that Javon Evans ends up tapping out through Gunther's sleeper hold, which, I'm pretty sure I was one of those people. I'm like, a lot of people wanted like Javon Evans. They wanted to be the upset. Wanted to be that upset. It's like, oh man, like we didn't expect that to happen and all this other stuff. That's what I was hoping for. But I think the upset match is probably going to be, because this Friday it's going to be Carmelo Hayes versus Bronson Reed. I can see, because Bronson Reed is part of the War Games and everything else, I can see that maybe the War Games can be a factor for Bronson Reed not to win. You know what I'm saying? So I can see that being a thing some way, somehow, so it can go up to that, Carmelo Hayes. If we get a Carmelo Hayes versus a Gunther, that'd be freaking amazing. It was probably the same thing that we saw here on with Javon Evans and Gunther, which was a fucking amazing match. If you haven't seen any other matches, go watch that match. So, but Gunther is moving on, and I'm gonna go ahead and just say that Gunther is probably going to be the one who is going to retire John Cena, especially since John Cena, his title is on the line at Survivor Series, and like I said, Dominic Mysterio will probably, get that title back from John Cena. Like I said before, with the Judgment Day or the El Grandes or whatever and stuff like that. Which once I heard about that, I was like, okay, Gunther definitely is gonna win, and we don't have no OB family. It's really sad to me, but this tournament could have been so much fun and so like to see new matches and everything else. Someone said, what if Jey Uso wins and it's Jey versus fucking Gunther? And I'm just like, oh gosh, like I love Gunther and I love Jey, I do, but it's like, come on, please come up with something new. It's like I was hoping like we could get some new matches and some new like blood and everything else like that, because like when they said 16, I was like, great, right? You have 4 like things. You have SmackDown, Raw, NXT, and TNA. So grab 4 guys from each place and do that. But like even in the last match we had was Penta versus Finn Balor, I'm like, they're both from SmackDown. They're both from Raw. Sorry, they're both from Raw. Like, who cares? It's like, I'm sure they're gonna have good matches and everything else, but it's like, what a missed opportunity to do something fun and exciting and just be like, see like new talent and everything else like that. They did have a video promo for Javon Evans, so that was pretty cool. So, and Javon Evans, he's going to be a huge star when he comes in the main roster. Like, he has so much time. He's only like 21 years old, he has so much type, but he is so fucking good. He's so fun to watch. He is definitely fucking mainstream material. He's definitely gonna be a world champion for sure. I cannot see him unless they totally just fuck up his whole fucking character or some shit like that, which I don't know, but I can see that being a thing. But yeah, John Evans is great. This was a great match. Even after the match, the people were cheering for Javon Evans and giving him a standing ovation and everything else. So they did all that. So yeah. Anyways, moving on, we had the Women's Intercontinental Championship match. Becky Lynch defended her title against Maxine Dupree. This was an okay match. I have to say Maxine Dupree has been doing excellent and doing a great job, and kudos to Becky for working with Maxine Dupree and and all this other stuff. People always calling her Hogan Becky all the time, and it's like Becky Hogan or whatever they call her, and it's like, no, Becky Lynch actually she puts over people and everything else like that. We also had Jessica Carr, who apparently Becky Lynch don't like because she always thinks that she's a crooked ref or something like that. But I mean, Jessica Carr pretty much called it down the middle, but I don't know what Becky's talking about, but she's a heel. So anyways, like I said, they had the match. It was great. It was good. It was a good match. It was a decent match and everything else like that. They had it to where Becky Lynch was, playing off the ankle lock into like a grapevine ankle lock and everything else, and looked like she was about to tap out and all this other stuff and everything else. It was kind of good. I was at the point where I was like, are they actually gonna let Maxine win? I'm like, okay. Is this what's gonna happen? Because it was close, and I'm just like, they're talking about her family's there, and I'm like, well, she's not from New York, she's from the other coast. So I'm just like, are they gonna let her win? Right? I'm just like, whatever. So Becky Lynch puts at one point Becky Lynch does the manhandle slam on Maxine Dupree, but unfortunately, when she tried to pin her, Maxine Dupree got her foot on the ropes because she was too close to the ropes, right? And that's when Becky Lynch gets into Jessica Carr's face and it's like, what are you doing and everything else on the account here. So Jessica Carr is like, look, she had her foot on the ropes. It's part of the rules, okay? And stuff like that. I don't know what to tell you, whatever. And so maybe you should focus on her and not me and all this other stuff, right? And like as she was talking to Becky Lynch, as Becky Lynch was talking to Jessica Carr, she was pretty much poking her. I was like, I wonder if they're gonna do like a Scarlet-ification or something like that. I hope not. I'm like, I want them to actually finish the match. And then Becky Lynch throws Maxine Dupree outside of the ring. Then Becky Lynch told her to count, and so Jessica Carr is checking on Maxine Dupree as she's counting. Meanwhile, you have Becky Lynch go on the other side and try to take the turnbuckle off the top rope. And then, I said she was coming. I knew she was coming. AJ Lee comes in. And AJ Lee, she skips her music plays and she skips down the ramp and everything else, and then Becky Lynch stops doing what she's doing and she starts looking over there like she's surprised and shocked and like, oh my gosh. And I'm just thinking to myself, why are you stop doing what you're doing just because you heard someone's music? I was thinking, like, why do people always, like, why do these wrestlers always do this every time? Like, the music comes on, they just like, oh, let me stop, I like this song or something. I don't know. Like, what are you doing? Just keep doing what you're freaking doing. Like, why you stop, right? But anyways, AJ Lee does the like, I see what you're doing, like the eyes point. I point to my eyes, point to your eyes, kind of thing, and everything else. I'm watching you. I see you. Right? Becky Lynch gets away from the turnbuckle, turns around to find Maxine just basically jumping on her from the top rope, rolls her up. 1, 2, 3. We got a new Women's Intercontinental Championship with Maxine Dupree. And I was like, holy shit. Oh my goodness. Good for Maxine Dupree. Good for Maxine Dupree. Because I remember like a few years back, someone said something about her being like a bad wrestler. And you know what? They weren't lying. I mean, the way they said it was just rude and like derogatory, and it was just unnecessary. They could have had a nicer way to say it. But Maxine Dupree needed all the help she can get, and they took her away from NXT way too quickly. They put her in there because, you know, they wanted to put her with the Maxine models or some shit like that, and that didn't work and all the other stuff. And I was like, once that didn't work, they should have put her back at NXT. But it's like, oh no, man, she's hot, so we need to put her up there and everything else. And they put her with Alpha Academy, and it was okay. But I think the work that she's done with the dungeon with Tyson Kidd and what's his face, Natty, Natalia is doing great work and everything else, and she's been putting in the work, and she has been having some good, decent matches with Becky Lynch. And the fact that Becky Lynch put her over like that and let her win the championship, people need to stop calling her Becky Hogan. Y'all need to go fuck off. That's not her. Anyways, so Maxine is shocked and everything, and she's so happy, you know, well deserved. And she's hugging AJ Lee. She's holding up the title high, and they gave her pyro and fireworks and everything else. I'm like, yay, congratulations to Maxine Dupree. So later on, they had an interview with Maxine Dupree and AJ Lee, and basically saying, you know, how does it feel to be the champion. You know, she's like, she feels overwhelmed. She felt like she deserved it. She felt like she's finally belonged in the WWE. And I'm like, yeah, you do. Definitely do. Unfortunately, you ain't gonna have that title for long, because more likely I can see either one or two things could happen. Either Becky Lynch will get that title back as soon as Saturday's main event in December, or I can also see maybe Roxanne Perez taking that title off of Maxine Dupree. Alright, because I get why people would want to have Becky Lynch get the title back and then have Becky versus AJ Lee for the title. But if AJ Lee, because AJ Lee came back, but I mean, she was gone for like 2 months. So I was like, if AJ Lee's only gonna be like, yeah, she has a full-time contract, but if she's only going to be here for a little while, and, you know, she has that Roman Reigns schedule, I'm like, why would we want her to have the championship? You can easily have a feud with AJ and Becky without the title. Or, I don't know, but I'm happy for Maxine Dupree. I think that either, like, Becky's going to get that title, or we can see Roxanne getting that title, or even Raquel getting that title, really. One of the two, but or anybody else, actually. I mean, who knows? But I think maybe one of those three might get the title. Anyways, it was good for her and everything else. As Maxine Dupree ends up, you know, leaving with Alpha Academy, they're going to celebrate and all that other stuff. And I think it was Jackie Redmond asked AJ Lee, like, you know, if I think everybody wants to know, you're back, are you here to stay? Because we all like for you to stay. I know I would like for you to stay and everything else. And AJ Lee was like, you know, when I went wrestled at WrestlePalooza, I only did that to help my husband and everything else. But Becky Lynch brings this fire out of me. She makes me feel something. And she kind of had this, like, that old AJ Lee, like, psycho look on her face and everything else. So she says, I don't know, I might stay and everything else. And then as she was talking, Rhea Ripley comes up, and she's like, I need to talk to you. It's like, can I talk to you for a minute? And Rhea Ripley and AJ is like, sure, right? And they go, and Rhea puts her arms around AJ, and they walk off. So before that, we had a segment with Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss was in the ring, and she was talking shooting her promo, basically saying that, oh, Charlotte Flair is ignoring me. Charlotte Flair is not taking my calls. She's not answering my texts. I know she's around because she's been going around taking Instagram pictures in New York City. So I know I know what she's doing. I know she ain't like sick or anything like that. So Alexa Bliss was like, look, I get that you don't like, Rhea Ripley and stuff like that, but you're my best friend and everything else. And it was like, and she's like, yeah, that's right, she's my best friend and all other stuff. Like, when people told me not to trust you and everything else, I went against everything else and I trusted you. She's like, and it's like, you're worried about the tag titles. It's like, look, we can always get those back. What we can't get back is trust. And I've trusted you. And the fact that you left me to get my ass beat by Asuka, Kyrie, Lash, and Nia Jax and everything else and all the other stuff. And as she was talking, here comes, speaking of the devils, Asuka, Kyrie, Lash, and Nia. And Asuka said something in Japanese. I don't know because I don't speak Japanese, but and then Nia Jax was like, yeah, what she said. And said and Nia Jax says, I don't blame Charlotte as your former best friend. It's like, I don't blame Charlotte for leaving you because you're just a terrible friend and everything else like that. And like, you're just standing there like all alone in that ring like a loser. So, and they're going towards the ring. He's like, well, the four of us against one of you, this is gonna be fun. And they go into the ring, and they're surrounding the ring, actually. Surrounding the ring, and by this time you have Io and Rhea come out, and Rhea's music played, and she gets a huge pop, obviously. And so now, it's semi-fair, 3 or 4. So now you got 3 against 4, and it's like, okay, it's not fair, but it's kind of fair, but it's not fair. Sure, they're attacking him and everything else like that. So then you have Nia and Lash pretty much start attacking Little Miss Bliss. And as they're attacking her, you hear Charlotte Flair's music, and she's coming out with a kendo stick and pretty much beats the crap out of Lash Legend, like a whipping her, lashing her, and everything else with the kendo sticks. When it ended up where like all the 4 of the female heels were outside of the ring, and Charlotte Flair ended up picking up Alexa Bliss, standing her up. Alexa Bliss is giving her a big hug and everything else like that. And this was like the funniest, cute part ever. I love this part. And you see Io looking at like Charlotte and Alexa Bliss hugging. So then Io goes and she goes and starts hugging on Rhea Ripley and everything else. And like Charlotte Flair could not hold it in. She just starts laughing. I was like, I couldn't blame you too. I was laughing too. I was like, oh my god, how cute, right? That's so funny. But I'm just like, and they kind of give head nods, and I'm like, okay, so is Charlotte Flair back in the fucking War Games? Like, I honestly thought that. I'm like, what was that angle for? Like on SmackDown when Charlotte Flair was like, oh, I can't do this, I can't be in this War Games, blah 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 blah. And all of a sudden, I can see why you might have come back to rescue her friend. So we don't know 100% sure if she's actually in War Games, but it kind of seems that she is. And if she is, it's kind of like, why did they do that angle? Like, why did they do that angle on like Friday? It's just like, I thought maybe Charlotte Flair was gonna come on like the last hour, that last Friday on like before Survivor Series, you know what I mean? That's what I thought, but whatever. I don't officially know if she's in it or not, but I'm officially saying she's in it. So, and then they had that, and that's when after the fact, that's when Rhea Ripley went up to AJ Lee. So you already know who the five on 5 women are going to be. Heel side, you got Asuka, Kyrie, Lash, and Nia, and Becky. And then on the other side, you got Rhea, Io, Charlotte, Alexa, and AJ. Which none of these women have. I mean, they have some sort. I mean, oh man, I don't even know. I'm trying to make this salvageable, and I can't. No, none of the women in this match has any like. Okay, well this makes sense why they're fighting and and everything else. Like, you know what I mean? It's like everyone has like a person that they don't like, but I don't think it was made. I don't think you need a War Games. I just could have seen this being a traditional 5-on-5 women's Survivor Series match, but you know, if we have to do one for the men, we gotta do one for the women. I don't care. I mean, I'm sure it's gonna be a great match, and we're gonna have AJ lead her first ever War Games match, as long as Last Legend too. I don't know, has Last Legend ever been in the War Games? I don't even know if she has or not. Everyone else in that, mostly everybody else except for AJ Lee, has been in the War Games. I'm really interested to see how she's gonna hang in there, but we'll see. Oh, by the way, I must add that Asuka, at one point during the show, she did ask Bayley if she wanted to be in the War Games with them and everything else, and Bayley like starts laughing like maniacally and started saying, after all the stuff that you did to me, you think I want to be in a War Games with you? Ha! You know, stuff like that. And told him straight up just no, right? So, and then Lyra is like so happy that she's like, yeah, you finally did, you finally, you know, let it go and everything else like that, and they're about to do like their secret little handshake or whatever it is, and Bailey's like, what are you, like 5? Come on, you idiot, and let's go. And Lyra's like, what? So I'm thinking of going back to Psycho Bailey, because they kind of like drifted off from like Psycho Bailey a little bit, but I'm like, why? That was such a good angle. But I think they're gonna go back to it again. I don't know what they do next. I don't know what's going on with Lyra and Bailey, but they were not in War Games. That I know. I don't know what they do. So let's go ahead and talk about the last segment, which is Paul Heyman and Paul Heyman and the Vision War Game versus, I guess you can say, CM Punk's War Games team. So at one point in the show, you have Dick Otis and Adam Pearce, and they're talking about how Paul Heyman got Drew McIntyre on his team and everything else like that, and they were talking in the office, and Heyman comes in, Paul Heyman comes in, and he's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, you guys look angry and everything else like that, and basically says, I followed within the rules and regulations of both of y'all before the War Games and stuff like that. And they're like, yes, we know, okay, and everything else like that. And he's like, okay, I'm just letting you know, I'm saying I didn't break any rules, you know what I'm saying? And he's like, well, if you thought my 4th pick was bad or shocking or whatever, wait till you see my last pick, right? He holds the contract in his hand, he hands it over to Adam Pearce, and Adam Pearce opened it, and they both looked at it, and Adam Pearce was like, this should be fun. And then the fun, man, this is gonna be great kind of match, like, oh gosh, kind of way, you know what I mean? And, you know, so they didn't show us, we didn't know who it was. I had a fucking feeling who it was gonna be, but they didn't show us who it was. So, the last segment of the night was when you have Paul Heyman, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Drew McIntyre, and Logan Paul all walk to the ring together, all wearing black, all of them wearing black and everything else. Pretty much Paul Heyman introduces everyone in the ring and says, you know, he's walked several factions, people in War Games, the Samoans, the Alliance, the other people, the Bloodline, and everything else, but saying that this team right here is probably the best War Games teams that he will ever walk down War Games and everything else like that. I beg to differ, but sure. Anyways, right, and they're playing this music and everything stuff like, and they were Paul Heyman was talking and everything. As he was talking, CM Punk's music plays, and the crowd goes crazy. The crowd starts singing "Cult of Personality," and we're having a good time and all this other stuff, right? You know, and he goes and he stops by the rap, and then he's counting people in the ring. 1, 2, 3. Okay, alright. And then he starts like clicking. He starts, you know, tapping on his wrist like time and everything else. And next thing you know, we yeeting. We got the Usos coming out from the crowd. Everybody, I mean, we yeeted like once, because I'm like, we're in war. We can't be yeeting, okay? Why are we yeeting during war? This is war. We gotta get ready for war. You know what I'm saying? We can't be yeeting during war. No yeets. No yeets. No more yeets. No. Not during war. No yeets. Anyway, so they go in and they start surrounding the ring, and I'm just like, alright, well, all we know is Cody Rhodes. We already know he's there because we saw in the opening credits that Cody Rhodes was there and everything else. And it was funny because Cody Rhodes' music hits, and you know the crowd was singing that song, and I think it was Joe Tessitore. Oh my God, it's Cody Rhodes, and I'm just like, really, Joe? You were the one who told us that Cody Rhodes was there earlier in the show when they first started the show, and Cody Rhodes is here, and why are you acting surprised that Cody Rhodes is there? Like, don't play dumb. Alright, and neither CM Punk or Cody Rhodes had their titles with them. They started fighting. All 4 guys started fighting with the other 4 guys, and it was just chaos. And I'm just like, alright, well, who's the 5th guy? Right? There is a reason why we have all these mayhem in this ring. So I'm like, who's the 5th guy? Kind of already know who the 5th guy is, but let's bring the 5th guy out, right? And as every guy's in the ring and they're fighting outside the ring, CM Punk comes in the ring and all the other stuff, and you hear it. Brock Lesnar's music comes on, and I'm like, okay, now we're starting. Okay, so Brock Lesnar's music comes on, and he goes and, you know, he gets a pop and everything else, and he gets up onto the ring apron, and even before like he gets into the ring, CM Punk, which by the way, CM Punk's facial expressions when he saw, like, when he heard the music of Brock Lesnar, like, holy, what the fuck kind of music and everything, like, what the fuck, his face expression was great. I loved it. And you know, CM Punk starts attacking Brock Lesnar, and you know, Brock Lesnar's like, seems to me you want to go on a trip. So we went on a trip. Punk went on a Suplex City trip, and he got Suplex City, and then here comes Cody Rhodes, and I'm just like, oh, like, wait a minute, didn't we just have this, like, didn't they just have a match a couple years ago, which to this day I don't know why they were feuding, but you know, eventually, you know, you had Brock Lesnar raise up Cody Rhodes' hand after the end of the match after he beat him, right? So I'm just like, I guess we're supposed to forget all that. It's a lot, you know, there's a lot of things we're supposed to forget apparently in this segment, but I'll continue. So then he goes on a suplex, right? And Cody Rhodes, like, Brock Lesnar suplexed the shit out of Cody Rhodes, where he is flying so high in the air. I was like, my goodness gracious, I was like, that was with some force and some authority. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, damn. And like, he gave him another Suplex City and everything else like that, and he pretty much cleared the ring. And I'm just like, at this point, the credits are rolling and everything else. I'm like, no, where's Roman? Like, no. Where is Roman? Where is Roman? I'm like, I know he's coming out, right? Because I know. And fair enough, and sure enough, Roman Reigns with a new shirt, new merch, comes out, and he comes out to his music, and he ain't no rush to go in there or anything else like that, and he goes and does one-on-one with Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar goes in for like a clothesline and misses, and Roman Reigns ends up giving them a hell of a Superman punch. By the way, I'm going to call out WWE for lying to us WWE Universal WWE Universe fans, because I believe it was told by, I don't remember who said it, but on SummerSlam 3 years ago, was it 3 years ago, that we would never see a match between Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. Now don't tell me, oh well, it doesn't count because this is a War Games. No, unless there's a reason, unless there's an absolute fucking reason that Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar never face off in fucking War Games, I might let that pass. But they made that set. They said it. They said, oh, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. You won't see it again. You're not gonna see it anymore. I don't care if you put people in there. It's still the same thing. I don't give a shit. You lied. You lied. You lied. It's okay, but it's alright though. I'm willing to forgive and forgive, even though you lied. Anyway, so then you had Bronson Reed attacked. At this point, well, no. And then you had that, and then here comes the security guards. Great timing, by the way, security guards, as you're gonna do something. And security guards come in, they start separating everything else. And then you had Bronson Reed attack Roman Reigns from behind, and he starts attacking Bronson Reed starts also attacking the security guards at one point, and then Bronson Reed is about to tsunami Roman Reigns with tsunami, but Roman Reigns ends up doing a Superman punch to what's his face? To Bronson Reed, and now Roman Reigns is going down out of the ring, and it ends up spearing a bunch of security guards that were attacking like his team, I guess, and everything else, and it pretty much ended with that. And that's how it ended. It ended with chaos, and everybody was still fighting as the show went off the air. Now I don't know if it continued on. I wasn't watching it from like VPN. I was actually watching it from my home state, so I don't know if they continue on or they did something else, or I didn't see any other, I didn't look for other back after exclusive clips either. But that is so that's gonna be War Games for the men, which makes so much more sense than the women, right? So if you think about this, right, so you have on the heels Brock Lesnar, Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Logan Paul, and Drew McIntyre. And then on the face, you got Roman Reigns, CM Punk, Jimmy Uso, Jey Uso, and Cody Rhodes. So each of these guys have had either some kind of feud or are in the middle of the feud with each of the other players in this War Games. And because you have Cody had a problem with Brock Lesnar. Cody had a problem with Drew McIntyre. Cody had a problem with Logan Paul, right? Cody had a little bit of a problem with the Vision when the Vision was trying to interfere and everything else, before Rollins got injured and stuff like that. So you have that. CM Punk had a great feud with Brock Lesnar in what was SummerSlam. I can't remember which one. But, he had a problem with Brock Lesnar, got a problem with Drew McIntyre, definitely got a problem with The Vision, and definitely got a problem with Logan Paul. So there's that. The Usos have a problem with The Vision and stuff like that. Jey Uso has a problem with Logan Paul. They had a little bit of a thing going on at one point. Roman Reigns had a problem with Brock Lesnar, because that match that they said that, that time when they said they're not going to fight anymore with Roman Reigns wins. Do you remember that? Yeah, I remember that. You remember that? Yeah. Anyways, I can't let that go. They have that. So, Drew McIntyre has a problem with Roman Reigns because Drew McIntyre should have beaten Roman Reigns at Cash at the Castle, in 2022 or whatever. until Sola got interfered in that match and everything like that. So there was that, right? And then Roman Reigns also had a problem with the Vision, and of course, you know, Roman Reigns had the thing with Logan Paul as well. So all these people have had like a beef with each other. So it all makes sense why they're all in the War Games together. The women, they don't make any sense. None whatsoever. The only ones that make sense is Rhea, Asuka, Kairi, and Io. That's it. Everybody else is just in there just to be in there. And I can say like even Becky Lynch and AJ Lee, but like AJ Lee's been gone for like 2 months, and Becky Lynch has not been talking about AJ Lee at all. You know, she never mentioned it. It'd be like one thing and she's like, you know, if she was constantly mentioning about AJ Lee, I could makes more sense. Like, well, you keep mentioning me, here I am, right? You keep saying my name. I'm like Beetlejuice. Say my name enough times, I'll return. I will make an appearance. So here, you know what I mean? But they didn't do all that. So. But I think the men's War Game is gonna be good. I'm trying to figure out how is Brock Lesnar going to fare in this War Games. Like, I would imagine he would be the last one, right? Because isn't like a thing? Isn't like a thing where he can't wrestle for like a few minutes or something like that? Like over a few minutes, like 15 or some shit like that. I don't know how many, but it's like I can see him being the last person there. And yeah, we'll definitely talk about that when we get there. But yeah, I mean, that team is great. I'll be honest with you, I could have gone the rest of the year not seeing Brock Lesnar, but whatever, or Logan Paul for that matter. But it's gonna be a great match. You got a great super heel team, you got a great super babyface team for sure. Anyways, that was Raw. It was a great show. Really enjoyed it. I'll give it like a 7 out of 10. It's pretty good. Anyway, thanks for watching. Hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I will see you in my next video. Okay, bye.